The scissors sliced through Amara Jackson's thick curls with a sickening crunch, the sound shattering the silent classroom. 25 students watched, some wide-eyed, others stifling giggles. Ethan Caldwell, Oak Ridge Academy's golden boy, held the shears, his smirk dripping with privilege. They thought Amara, a scholarship kid from Chicago's roughest streets, would crumble. They were wrong. That cut unleashed a storm to expose corruption and topple the elite. Amara wasn't just fighting for herself. She was fighting for justice. At 17, Amara stepped off the rattling Chicago bus, her faded uniform stark against Oak Ridge's ivy-covered gates. Her 4.0 GPA, earned through nights in a cramped apartment under flickering neon, was her rebellion against a school worshipping wealth. Her hair, a crown she'd nurtured, now lay in clumps on the classroom floor. She didn't cry. Her hands stayed steady, eyes burning with quiet fury. Ethan expected weakness, but Amara, forged in hardship, saw this as war. Her mother Maya's double shifts fueled her defiance. She gripped her pen, ready to fight. Her neighborhood taught her resilience, how to dodge trouble, how to stand tall when the world pushed her down. Oak Ridge was no different, just dressed in finer clothes, the Ferraris in the parking lot, the trust funds fueling smug smiles. They didn't scare her. She'd faced worse than spoiled kids with too much power. Her mother's late nights at the hospital, the unpaid bills stacking up at home, had forged a fire in her. They didn't just want her gone, they wanted her broken. Amara's jaw set, her eyes sharp with purpose. She wasn't fighting for a seat in their classrooms. She was fighting for her place in a world that tried to erase her. Every morning, she rose before dawn, her mother's tired eyes watching her leave. Maya's sacrifices, endless shifts, missed holidays, fueled Amara's resolve. She carried that weight, not as a burden, but as armor. Oak Ridge's elite might have money, but Amara had something they couldn't buy: grit. Her teachers praised her mind but warned her to blend in. She ignored them. Blending in meant surrendering, and Amara had never surrendered. The whispers grew louder, the glares sharper. They saw her as an intruder, a girl who dared to rise above her station. She felt their resentment, but it only made her stronger. The classroom air hung heavy as Amara Jackson sat in the front row, her pen scratching notes on the French Revolution. She felt the first tug on her hair, sharp and deliberate, but dismissed it as an accident. Then came the second, harder, followed by stifled laughter from the back. Her pulse quickened, but she kept her eyes on her notebook, refusing to give them the satisfaction of a reaction. But then, a metallic whisper sliced through the room, the unmistakable sound of scissors opening. Her body tensed, every nerve screaming danger. Before she could turn, the blades closed around her thick curls with a sickening crunch. Chunks of hair fell to the floor, scattering like broken dreams. The classroom erupted in gasps, some shocked, others cruelly amused. Amara's hand flew to her head, fingers finding the ragged edges where her crown had been butchered. She turned slowly, her gaze locking onto Ethan Caldwell, Oak Ridge's golden boy, standing behind her desk. His blue eyes gleamed with malice, the scissors glinting in his manicured hand, his smirk a badge of untouchable privilege. He expected her to break. Behind him stood his crew, Chloe Harper with her designer sneer, Liam Nguyen filming with a sly grin, and others. They'd planned this, certain Amara, the scholarship kid, would crumble. Mr. Harris, the history teacher, stood at the board, his chalk pausing mid-stroke. His eyes flicked to the scene, Amara's fallen hair, Ethan's smug triumph, then returned to his lecture as if nothing had happened. His silence was louder than the scissors, a betrayal that cut deeper than steel. Amara's heart pounded, but her face stayed stone. She didn't cry or run. She sat taller, her hands steady, her mind racing. This wasn't just a prank. It was a calculated assault, a message to keep her in her place. Amara knew their kind, raised on Chicago's mean streets where power played dirty. Ethan's father owned half the city's skyline. Chloe's mother sat on Oak Ridge's board. They thought their money made them gods, their cruelty consequence-free. But Amara wasn't their pawn. Her jaw tightened, her eyes burning with a fire forged in hardship. They'd touched her hair, her pride, her person. They'd started a war. Mr. Harris droned on about liberty, his voice a hollow mockery, as Amara's hair lay in ruins. She felt the weight of 25 stares. She wouldn't crack. She'd faced worse. Eviction notices, hungry nights, the world's cold indifference. This was just another fight, and Amara was a fighter. Ethan's smirk faltered as she met his gaze, unflinching. He didn't know it yet, but he'd just lit a fuse. Amara was ready to burn their world down. Amara Jackson stood in the dim hallway of Oak Ridge Academy, her footsteps echoing on the polished marble floor. Her hair, now a jagged mess from Ethan's scissors, framed her face like a battle scar, but her eyes burned with unshaken resolve. She faced Mr. Harris's desk in the teacher's lounge, the air thick with the scent of stale coffee and cowardice. "I need to report an assault," she said, her voice steady, each word a blade aimed at the heart of his indifference. Mr. Harris froze, his pen hovering over a stack of papers. "You're overreacting, Amara," he stammered. "It was just a prank. Boys like Ethan Caldwell, they don't mean harm." Amara's jaw tightened. She slid her phone from her pocket, its recorder already running, capturing every syllable of his betrayal. She wasn't playing their game. "An assault," she repeated, her tone calm but unyielding, like a storm gathering strength. "Ethan cut my hair with scissors in front of 25 students. You saw it, Mr. Harris, and did nothing." "That makes you complicit." His face flushed. "You don't understand how things work at Oak Ridge. The Caldwells are untouchable." "You're a scholarship student, Amara. Be grateful you're even in these halls." Her lips curved into a smile, not of joy, but of defiance. "Grateful," she said. "For being attacked? For your silence? I'm collecting evidence, Mr. Harris." My hair's scattered on the classroom floor. "Should I leave it for the police to collect, or will you explain why you ignored a crime?" The room seemed to shrink. He sputtered, his hands gripping the desk. "This won't end well for you, young lady." Amara leaned closer, her gaze unflinching. "Or for you, if you're betting on the wrong side." The whispers of students outside the lounge's glass door grew louder. Amara felt their eyes, but she stood taller, her mother's sacrifices etched deep into her bones. Amara Jackson's double shifts at the hospital had bought Amara this chance at Oak Ridge. She wouldn't waste it on fear. Mr. Harris's hands trembled. He thought she'd back down. But Amara was forged in Chicago's crucible, her spirit stubborn, her mind sharp as a switchblade. She took a step back, her phone still recording, its red light a quiet promise of justice. Amara's heart beat steady, her resolve unbroken. She wasn't just a scholarship kid to be dismissed. She was a force. As she turned to leave, her voice lingered, low and fierce. "This isn't over, Mr. Harris, not by a long shot." The sun bled red across the Oak Ridge Academy parking lot as Amara Jackson stood alone, her butchered hair catching the dying light like a frayed banner. A sleek Mercedes purred to a stop beside her. Its tinted window rolled down to reveal Evelyn Harper, Chloe's mother. "Get in," she said, her voice low, urgent. Amara hesitated, but curiosity pulled her into the leather seat. Evelyn's hands gripped the wheel, knuckles pale. "You're stirring a hornet's nest, Amara. You don't know what they're capable of." Amara's eyes narrowed. "I know exactly what they did to me," she said. Evelyn's gaze flickered, haunted by something deeper than guilt. Evelyn reached into her designer purse and pulled out a small USB drive. "This is your weapon," she whispered, pressing it into Amara's palm, her hand trembling. 15 years of Oak Ridge's secrets, bribes, cover-ups, crimes buried beneath their $1 million donations. They destroyed my daughter, Amara. Chloe's not the girl you see at school. They broke her, and I let it happen." Her voice cracked. Amara's fingers closed around the USB. She studied Evelyn, searching for the trap. Evelyn's eyes met hers, raw and unguarded. "They run experiments," she said, her words barely audible. "On scholarship kids like you. Secret trials, drugs, all for profit disguised as research. Chloe was part of it, coerced to stay silent. I can't save her now, but I can help you burn it all down." Amara's pulse raced, her mind grappling with the scale of Oak Ridge's betrayal. She didn't trust Evelyn, not fully. But the USB felt like truth, a key to the rot festering beneath Oak Ridge's gleaming facade. "Why me?" Amara asked. "Because you're not afraid. Because you're what I couldn't be when it mattered." Amara's hand tightened on the drive, her resolve hardening. Oak Ridge wasn't just a school, it was a machine that devoured the vulnerable. As Evelyn pulled away, her parting words hung in the air. "They'll come for you now. Hard. Your mother, your scholarship, your future, everything's at risk. But that drive can end them. Use it wisely." Amara stepped back into the dusk, the USB a burning weight in her pocket. She felt the eyes of Oak Ridge's elite. But Amara was no stranger to shadows. She'd outrun them before, outsmarted them with her relentless grit. Her mother's sacrifices had prepared her for this. The war she hadn't chosen was now hers to fight, and she wouldn't fight it alone. Back in her cramped apartment, Amara sat at the kitchen table, the USB glinting under the flickering bulb like a dangerous promise. Her mother, Maya, was still at the hospital. Amara's fingers hovered over the drive, her heart a drumbeat of resolve laced with fear. Oak Ridge had tried to break her with a pair of scissors, but they'd handed her a sharper weapon. Amara's eyes hardened, her jaw set with the stubborn fire of a girl who'd never learned to surrender. They thought her weak, a scholarship kid to be silenced. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Amara Jackson sat at a chipped table in Oak Ridge's crowded cafeteria. Her best friend, Layla, sat across, picking at her lunch, eyes darting nervously. Amara leaned in, her voice low, the USB's weight still heavy in her pocket. "Layla, they're hiding more than just bribes. Experiments, Layla, on kids like me." Her words were a whisper, urgent, but steady. She didn't see the way Layla's fingers twitched, how her gaze flickered to the table where Ethan Caldwell and his crew lounged. Layla nodded, but her silence screamed. Amara didn't notice the betrayal brewing. She'd grown up with Layla, promising to rise together. But now, Layla's hands trembled as she typed a message under the table, each word a knife. "She's got a USB. Evidence. She's going after you. Sent to Ethan." Layla's breath caught, guilt clawing at her chest, but fear of Ethan's power held her tighter. She smiled at Amara, the lie bitter on her lips. The cafeteria's noise swallowed their conversation, but Amara felt a shift, a prickle of danger. She trusted Layla, had to trust her, because in Oak Ridge's gilded halls, allies were rare. Her hair, still ragged from Ethan's scissors, drew stares, but she held her head high. "We can stop them," Amara said, her eyes bright with stubborn hope. "This USB changes everything." Layla's nod was weak, her eyes avoiding Amara's. The message was sent, the damage done. Layla's heart sank, knowing she'd traded loyalty for safety. Amara pushed her tray aside, her mind racing. The USB was a bomb, but she needed a plan, someone to trust beyond these walls. Her mother's face flashed in her mind. Oak Ridge's elite thought they owned her. They didn't know the fire in her. Layla's silence gnawed at her, but Amara pressed on, her voice firm. "We're not just fighting for me, Layla. It's for every kid they've crushed." Layla looked away, shame burning her cheeks. The bell rang. Amara didn't see Layla slip away. Her phone clutched tight. Ethan's reply already buzzing. "Handle her, or I will." Layla's betrayal was complete. Amara walked to her next class, unaware of the storm she'd just ignited. Her heart, stubborn and unyielding, carried her forward. Oak Ridge was just another fight, and Amara was ready to win. Amara Jackson sat across from Principal Coleman in Oak Ridge's oak-paneled office. Her ragged hair framed a face carved with defiance, the USB's secrets burning in her pocket. Coleman's smile was practiced as she slid a folder toward Amara. "A full scholarship, Amara," she said, her voice smooth. "College, graduate school, all expenses paid. Just say Ethan's prank was a misunderstanding, and this all goes away." Amara's eyes narrowed. She'd seen bribes before. She leaned back, her voice low, unyielding. "You think I'll sell my truth for your money?" Coleman's smile faltered. Amara's hand rested on her phone, recording every word. "Ethan assaulted me, and you're protecting him." "Why? Because his father pays your salary?" Coleman's face tightened. "You're playing a dangerous game, young lady." "The Caldwells don't lose." Amara's lips curved, a smile sharp as a blade. "Neither do I." She'd grown up dodging traps. This was no different. Her phone buzzed, a message from an unknown number. "Your mother's night shift ends at 10. Parking garages get lonely." Amara's heart stuttered, but her face stayed stone. The threat was a fist around her chest, but fear only sharpened her resolve. "You're not just protecting Ethan," she said, her voice cold. "You're hiding something bigger. Experiments, bribes, kids like me used as lab rats. I know, and I'm not stopping." Coleman's eyes widened, her mask slipping. Amara stood, her worn shoes silent on the plush carpet. "Tell the Caldwells I'm coming for them. And you." "You're next." Coleman's voice rose, desperate. "You'll regret this, Amara. You have no idea what's at stake." But Amara knew stakes. She'd fought for every inch of her life. The USB was her weapon. She walked out, head high, the principal's threats echoing like empty promises. Oak Ridge's elite thought they owned her. They were wrong. Back in the hallway, whispers trailed her. Amara felt the weight of their stares, but her spine stayed steel. She pulled out her phone, dialing a number she'd memorized but never used, a civil rights lawyer. "Miss Carter, it's Amara Jackson," she said, her voice steady. "I've got evidence that'll bury Oak Ridge. I need you." The line crackled, a lifeline in a war she hadn't chosen. Amara's heart beat fierce. They'd tried to break her, but she was just getting started. Amara Jackson sat on a park bench under the dim glow of a street lamp. Layla stood before her, hands stuffed deep in her hoodie, her eyes red and swollen. "I messed up, Amara," she said, her voice cracking. "I told Ethan about the USB. I was scared. He said he'd ruin me, my family, everything we've worked for." Amara's heart twisted, the sting of betrayal as sharp as the scissors that had butchered her hair. She'd trusted Layla. Now, that trust lay shattered. Layla's tears fell freely, her words tumbling out. "I didn't know he'd go that far. The threats, your mom, I swear I didn't know." Amara's jaw tightened, her mother's face flashing in her mind. The message threatening Maya's safety still burned. She wanted to scream, but she saw the fear in Layla's eyes. Her anger wavered, but her voice stayed cold. "Why should I believe you now?" Amara asked. Layla's hands shook as she pulled out her phone, fumbling to open a string of texts from Ethan. Orders to betray Amara. Threats against her scholarship. "This is all I have," Layla said, her voice breaking. "Proof he's scared of you, Amara. I'm giving it to you because I can't live with what I did." Amara's fingers hovered over the phone. Layla's betrayal had endangered her, but these texts, they could be a weapon. She took the phone, her resolve hardening. The park was silent. Amara stood, her ragged hair catching the lamplight, her gaze softening but never yielding. "You broke us, Layla," she said, "but I need you now. Help me end this, and maybe we can fix what's left." Layla nodded, tears streaming down her cheeks. Amara didn't forgive, not yet, but she understood. Oak Ridge's elite thrived on fear. She'd grown up dodging worse betrayals. This was just another fight, and she was ready. Amara's mind raced, the USB and Layla's texts forming the edges of a plan. She'd been alone, but now she had Layla. Her mother's sacrifices fueled the fire in her chest. Oak Ridge's elite thought they could silence her. They didn't know the girl they'd targeted. Layla's hand brushed hers, a tentative promise of redemption. Amara's heart steadied, her eyes sharp. They'd come for her mother, her future. Now, she'd come for them, and she wouldn't come alone. Amara Jackson stood in the shadowed corner of Oak Ridge Academy's grand conference room. The USB's secrets burned in her pocket, Layla's damning texts a quiet weight on her phone. The board of trustees sat before a polished mahogany table. Ethan Caldwell's father, Richard, droned on about legacy and excellence, oblivious to the storm about to break. Amara's eyes met Layla's across the room, a silent nod sealing their fragile alliance. She stepped forward, her voice slicing through the air. "I have something you all need to hear." She plugged the USB into the projector, her hands steady. The screen flickered to life, revealing a cascade of emails, bank records, and contracts. Proof of Oak Ridge's experiments on scholarship students. Gasps rippled through the room as Ethan's recorded voice played, boasting about his prank with her hair, Principal Coleman's voice promising to bury it with a bribe. Richard's face drained of color. "This is fabricated," he barked. Amara's gaze didn't waver. "The FBI has copies. They're outside now." The double doors burst open, FBI agents flooding into the room. Ethan's smirk vanished as an agent snapped cuffs on his wrists. Principal Coleman slumped in her chair. Richard roared, "You'll regret this, girl." But Amara stood tall, her mother's sacrifices etched into her spine. She'd grown up outsmarting Chicago's dangers. Now, Oak Ridge's elite faced the girl they'd tried to break. Layla stepped beside her, head held high, her betrayal redeemed. The agents led Ethan and Coleman out. Amara's evidence had shattered their empire. She didn't gloat. Her fight wasn't for vengeance, but for justice. Her hair, still ragged from Ethan's scissors, framed a face carved with quiet, stubborn strength. She'd turned their weapon against them. The room emptied. Amara lingered, her eyes fixed on the screen where the truth still glowed. She thought of Maya, working another double shift, unaware her daughter had just toppled a dynasty built on lies. Amara's war wasn't over. Lawsuits, backlash, and threats loomed, but she'd lit a spark that would spread. Scholarship kids across the country would hear this story. She'd fought for them. Oak Ridge's halls, once a gilded cage, now echoed with the sound of her victory. Her heart steadied, her resolve as unyielding as the Chicago streets that raised her. She wasn't naive. Exposing Oak Ridge would paint a target on her back. But fear had never stopped her. Each battle had forged her. They'd cut her hair to shame her, thinking poverty meant weakness. But Amara had cut through their lies. The world would know her name, not as a victim, but as a force who dared to demand justice. Amara Jackson stood on the stage at Columbia University's commencement, her gown flowing, her curls restored. The crowd stretched before her. Her mother, Maya, sat in the front row, her tired eyes shining with pride. Amara's voice, steady and clear, carried across the lawn. "I didn't come here to be seen," she said. "I came to fight for those the world ignores. Kids like me, told their dreams don't matter." Her words were a quiet fire. She spoke of the streets that raised her, where survival demanded grit. "We're told to stay small, to be grateful for scraps," she said. "But gratitude doesn't mean silence. Truth does." The audience leaned in. Amara didn't dwell on Oak Ridge's fall. Her presence, her degree, her unbroken spirit said enough. She'd turned scissors into a sledgehammer. Maya's smile anchored her, a reminder of why she'd fought. "My mother taught me to stand," she said. "But you taught me to keep standing." She nodded to the crowd. "Record your truth. Find your allies. Never apologize for existing." Her words were a call, rooted in the stubborn heart that had outsmarted Chicago's dangers and Oak Ridge's elite. Her fight had sparked a movement. Amara stepped back, applause swelling around her. Her mind lingered on the cost of her victory. Threats still came. Justice wasn't free. It scarred. She thought of Layla, rebuilding their trust, and Evelyn Harper, whose USB had lit the fuse. "What's the price of truth?" she asked. The crowd's roar, Maya's tears, told her it was worth it. Amara's eyes lifted, her resolve as unyielding as ever. Her diploma in hand, Amara walked off stage, Maya's arms waiting. She wasn't a hero, just a girl who refused to bow. Yet her story rippled, shared on screens, whispered in classrooms. "Don't wait for permission," she'd said. She'd shown them power wasn't invincible. As she hugged Maya, Amara felt the weight of what lay ahead. But she was ready, forged in struggle. The world had tried to dim her light, to shame her with scissors, to silence her with threats. It failed. Amara's legacy wasn't in the headlines. It was in the kids who now stood taller, who recorded their truths, who refused to shrink. She'd fought for them, for Maya, for the girl she'd been. Her voice, her story, would echo long after the applause faded. Amara held Maya tighter, her eyes on the horizon, ready for whatever came next.